Hello, Ben here from Gravel Throat Reviews. Today I'm coming at you with a album review of the brand new, just dropped this morning, Ethel Cain album called Perverts. Um, yeah, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to approach this album review in a way that makes sense, but I don't think I can. So instead, I'm just going to give you a few thoughts that came to mind at 2:30 a.m. when I was listening or when I had just finished this album. Um, First, let me start off by saying that this album is in fact a 10 out of 10, a perfect score, but not for the typical reasons. Um, this album is an hour and a half long, and it is the most disturbing, terrifying, harrowing piece of music that I've ever heard. And I've listened to the Caretaker album Everywhere at the End of Time from front to back, which is an album that illustrates what it's like to have dementia over the course of 5 hours, five different discs. But yeah, that album was really tough to listen to, but this one was a lot more scary and beautiful also as well. I'm not going to go track for track in this review like I normally would, but instead I'll just give you kind of an overview of my personal experience. Yeah, I knew this album was coming out today, and that typically means that the album officially drops at midnight. So I stayed up late to catch this album because I felt like Ethel Cain was going to give us something special, because she tends to be a highly conceptual artist, and it takes a lot of effort to do music in this way instead of just kind of like grabbing an acoustic guitar and being like, oh, I'm in love with a girl or a boy or whatever. To make a concept album, you have to really think about what it is you're trying to say and lay it out in a way that people can relate to. And it is definitely not easy. Ethel Cain is really good at doing this. I have a lot of respect for her for that. The time was 12:15 a.m. and I got my good headphones and took a few puffs from a joint, and I laid down in my bed with the lights off to start this album. Um, I didn't know that this was going to be the perfect setting for this album, but it just happened to work out that way, and I feel super lucky that it did. Um, yeah, I mean, so right when I started the album, I was expecting to hear some distant piano chords and some like melodramatic songwriting, but what I heard was some distorted, old-timey singing that melts into a very disturbing, airy atmosphere, where the word masturbator repeats slowly over and over in this very dark, disturbing ambience, and it creates this scary tension that is bewildering. Um, there's an abrasive synth that comes in suddenly, like a few minutes into the track, that like builds an incredibly haunting tension. Yeah, at this point, you're expecting this to be only an intro and the album to begin after that, but you're definitely wrong. It continues like this for 10 minutes, with some soft spoken, like demonic words about heaven and the sin of masturbation in the background. Finally, around the 12-minute mark, some slightly uplifting synths come in and provide some much needed relief from the darkness of this intro. And that's kind of a theme going forward, is like she'll give you these long, drawn out, ambient, dark passages and then end them with this beautiful vocal melody and beautiful uplifting parts that kind of break up the monotony and the sadness. I think it's a really brilliant way to go about doing an album. I loved it. Um, so finally, the second track, Punish, starts, and this is like the only normal song on the whole album. It's kind of like a soft-spoken and delicate, but still very dark ballad with some somber pads and some heavy distorted guitars that echo off the walls. Yeah, it's pure beauty and pure tension. Um, I keep saying the word tension because that is what this album does. It is a masterful tension creating piece of work, um, which is something that keeps people coming back to albums like this. Um, but yeah, this track deteriorates into a dark place and then sets the tone for the rest of the record. From here on out, it's just long, dizzying drone composition after long drone composition, only broken up by these beautiful, angelic, soft-spoken singing parts that provide sanctuary from the ghosts within the track. Um, you need these periods of relief to get through this album because it's so dense and heavy and dark. Um, yeah, I mean, I was a little bit stoned when I was listening to this album, so that may have added to the experience. But there was a few points I was legit scared listening to this. I was laying down on my back in the dark, at midnight, and there was a couple times where I was thinking, wow, I want to turn on the lights and like sit up because this is kind of scary. And I've never had that experience with an album before. But I think the way that I set the mood for this listen kind of created that feeling. In conclusion, I mean, this album is incredibly dark, haunted, demonic, possessed, devastating, and moving. Um, I do not recommend listening to this album in a casual setting because this is not a casual album. I recommend lying down in the dark like I did and coming to this album with patience. I feel like it's very important to listen start to finish with no distractions or interruptions, no doom scrolling, no talking, no, kids coming in and interrupting, if you can help it, of course. Because this is a truly one-of-a-kind listen, and it deserves to be treated as such, in my opinion. I already know that at least half of the people that listen to this album are not going to finish the record. They won't make it through because it's hard to get through this album because it's dark, it's sad, and it's very long. It's an hour and a half long. And to be honest, the record isn't really for everyone either. So that's kind of cool. It'll filter people out, and the true fans like myself will make it to the end. This record's not for everyone. Perverts is probably the only, Perverts is probably the only 10 out of 10 album that I won't be listening to very often because it's a long form piece of artwork that deserves a long attention span that I frankly can rarely muster. This is a beautiful and terrifying listening experience, and I'm thankful to Ethel Cain for having the balls to put out this album, knowing many people won't understand or enjoy this masterpiece. I think it takes a lot of character and guts to do that, as opposed to just putting out an album that everyone's gonna to grasp right away and oh, this is a great album. This is a different experience. This is a sinister, sexual, dark experience. I know I keep saying that, but I want to drill into your head that this is not a normal listen. This is not a normal album. And to be quite frank with you, it's a little bit sad that it's not an album that you can listen to all the time because I personally am a massive fan of Ethel Cain. I think I love everything she does. And I love every character she plays. Her aesthetics are very well thought out and unique. This album, Perverts by Ethel Cain, it's a 10 out of 10, an absolutely spellbinding listen. It's 100% going to be in my top albums of the year, even though it's only literally 8 days into 2025. But I urge you all to take your time and when listening to this album, get a good setting going. Don't have any distractions, and you will experience the joy of this album like I did. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Ethel Cain, for this wonderful, wonderful album. And I hope that we will get another album from you in the future. And I hope you see this too, because I love you. I love you, man. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your time today. And I hope you check out this album and enjoy it the same way I did. Ben from Gravel Throat Reviews. I'll see you on the next album. Peace.